that I mentioned on a Facebook thread in the last couple of days. And the first thing I just want to mention with regards to business development is this idea of, and this notion of, red waters, boo, and blue waters, yay! And what I'm talking about here is this idea of, the amount of competition that you have for your services and the way in which you position yourself. You can go and Google, it's a well-known marketing theory about blue ocean marketing. You can kind of Google it, you can get into much more detail about it. But I think it's really important as far as hypnotherapists are concerned, and lots of what we're going to be speaking about later on as well, has a relationship with this notion. So I just want to kind of put this at the head of what we're talking about and frame things according to this particular model, because I think it's incredibly valuable. So when we talk about red waters, it's like we're talking about bloodied waters. If you go into a kind of provincial environment, a regional environment, and you'll see that there are very often a large group of hypnotherapists that have very similar approaches, similar websites. And we're going to talk about websites a little bit later on and the way in which they get set up. But it's usually a template website that's very kind of simplistically developed, with a lot of kind of stock information, stock way in which they've kind of put themselves out there. And it's very difficult to pick between these people. And ultimately, these are bloodied waters because these are the same people pretty much going for the same fish in the water. Sharks that are going for the same fish within the water, and thus it becomes overcrowded and these waters become bloodied. And really the only way that you set yourself apart, or that you can kind of compete effectively in that market, is to reduce your fees. Because everything else on offer is pretty much the same, and ultimately the cheapest person wins. Now I'm guessing and I'm hoping that you guys are not just going to be, wanting to be the cheapest person on offer, because you've had exceptional training. You're going to have exceptional education under your belts, and so on. And I think what you offer is of a superior quality and is worth more than just competing on price alone. So therefore, what I encourage you to do is to not just compete in the red waters, not just do everything that you think you are officially supposed to do as a hypnotherapist, in the way in which you set up your business, the way in which you run your business as a kind of template, how a hypnotherapist is supposed to look, kind of devoid of personality and so on. And I'm going to be speaking in some depth and detail about personality, like I spoke about this morning. I'm going to be speaking about in a short while. So when you create blue waters, you're aiming to eradicate competition. And that is that by creating blue waters, what you are doing is creating your own marketplace that comprises of you. And that is that you think about and you consider what it is that you propose, what your proposal is. What do you offer that nobody else can compete with? And that's not just in terms of what your hypnotherapy skills are and what your solution is, but you individually. No one else can be Adam Eason. There's a few people out there trying, but no one else can be. No one else can do that job as well as me. No one else can be as good at being you as you are, as you all are. And so what we want to do is make your proposal, make your business proposal have no competition and set yourself apart. And so you want to start to think, what are the blue waters as far as I'm concerned? What does that mean? What does that entail as far as I'm concerned? And how do I start to do that? So some of the things we're going to be talking about are, development of niches, for example, development of your own professionalism. But importantly, when I talk about this idea of red waters and blue waters, rather than assessing your competition, sidling up beside them, and trying to do something similar to position yourself in that marketplace with that kind of with your professional peers. Instead, seek to embrace your idiosyncrasies, embrace your expertise, create specialist knowledge that sets you apart, that makes you stand out and puts you in your own marketplace. That is, that you propose your business, you present your business in such a way that there is no competition. Now, I am telling you now, however many of my graduates or my closest professional peers there are in the world, there will never be anybody able to deliver hypnotherapy in the way in which I do. Because, I really dine out and I really accentuate the person that I am, the kind of individual that I am, the quirks that I have, the idiosyncrasies that I have, and the way in which I present myself. And thus I create a real marketplace. It's the same with my training. Nobody else gets training and has training courses like mine. Both good and bad, both good foibles and bad foibles. It sets itself apart in a number of different ways, simply because inherent within it and intrinsically within it is me and my personality and the person I am and the things that we believe are important and draw upon. But importantly, what that is built upon and what your blue waters ought to be built upon is not something deeply contrived, but something that genuinely you feel in your heart. So by that, what I mean is, think about the kind of values and the principles that you want to build your business upon. Think about the values and the principles that you want to build your business upon. I get invited to speak at quite a lot of conferences and conventions that just don't sit well with the kind of, and have been invited to speak on radio programs, for example, that simply don't sit well with the kind of values that I wish to portray within my business. And so I'll typically tend to turn those kinds of things down. And the way in which my business is developed gets dictated a little bit by those values and by those principles and by the things that are important to the way in which I run it. So at the real heart, the real foundation, you set up some principles, some guiding principles about what's important to you, the core values, the way in which you want your business to be represented. Now, I'm going to be speaking, when I finish recording this snippet, we're going to be speaking about personality marketing in a much more detail. But just as a kind of simple nugget, if you think about and ask the people that are closest to you, how would you describe my personality? What is it about my personality? Give me kind of 3 to 5 words that describe my personality. Add that to your own ideas about who and how you are. And then think, okay, so this is my personality. This is the person that I am. And combined with these values and these principles that I have, it's going to form a foundation that is going to enable me to express my business and create blue waters unlike anything else that anybody else out there is offering. Because so many other people are doing safe, vanilla flavored, magnolia painted, beige wearing type of safe options as far as their business is concerned, and are competing with all the other people in those red waters. There's no real personality, there's nothing to connect with, there's no values, no principles, no kind of drive that is inspiring people to want to connect with that business. And when people do want to connect with my business, typically they're therefore, because they know that, and that they become aware that cannot be found elsewhere. There's no substitute for that. There's no kind of lesser version necessarily. There's no other version of that. They're therefore prepared to pay slightly more for that, or ideally a lot more as you add more value and as you add more to what it is that you're offering. So I think a really great way to start to create your blue waters is to become aware of who you are and who you are as a therapist, what your personality is in your life and how that's going to spread into your work as a hypnotherapist, and then to establish and develop some core principles and values that are going to be at the heart of your business. Not just wanting to help others, but the manner by which you wish to help others and the way in which you wish to express your business and express yourself. And that when you collect those things, they become a kind of immovable foundation for you to lean on. You don't have to think about doing that. You don't have to do that in a contrived fashion because it's innately there. You start to then communicate that message, and the way in which you make your communications online, the way in which you make your communications in real life, you begin to present those values. Not by saying, hey world, these are my values, but you demonstrate them by how you communicate. It's no good. I see so many hypnotherapists write on their websites, I've got a great sense of humor. Or they write on their websites, I'm really passionate about this field. And gradually as you go through their website, all your passion for even being alive is gradually being withered because it's such a depressing place to be. But you said you were passionate about this field, and now I just want to kill myself. So rather than saying to everybody, hey everyone, I'm really passionate, I've got a really awesome sense of humor, I'm great to be around, I am. Instead of doing that stuff, the key becomes be that way. Demonstrate it. And thus, and when people arrive on your website, or when people start to, see a talk that you're giving, or something else, they see your personality. They see your values by the way in which you're communicating the things that are important to you, and they can connect with it. And what you have just done, without having to do anything any more complicated than that, is you've now created your own marketplace. You've created your blue waters, you've removed competition, because no one else is vying for that. No one else is able to compete with that proposition. So, this is my frame for this presentation, for these next couple of hours, is this idea of wanting to create and swim in blue waters, rather than kind of being pulled into the red waters. Because, in your locality, there's lots of hypnotherapists. There's lots of hypnotherapists. Go and have a look at their websites. Go and have a look at the way in which they're positioning themselves. Go and have a look at the way in which they communicate about their business. There'll be very, very little to put them apart. And you'll see that they're all communicating. They're all kind of, communicating with each other in very subtle ways. Not that they're talking to each other, but they're all kind of relating to each other. They'll all be 5 or 10 quid within each other as far as their prices are concerned, because they let their prices be dictated by everybody else's prices instead of by the value in which they place upon their time, which is how I think is a much better way to dictate your fees. Okay, so that's blue waters, red waters.